Hi, these are Micr Frets. They let us play the notes in between the notes. This is microtonality made practical. As a microtonal music theory communicator, wow, that's quite the niche that I've found myself in. Anyway, in my work communicating the microtones, I often come across the sentiment of, wow, this is pretty neat, but like, how do you actually play this stuff? And yeah, that is a very, very important and totally valid critique, random guy or gal 31. Not everyone can or wants to build their own modular instrument to handle 1,000,000 notes per octave, or collect incredibly rare and esoteric instruments, or spend a bunch of time programming tuning files only for your 12-tet piano roll to not be able to handle it. The problem is barrier to entry. I always say that if the goal of the Western microtonal community is to get mainstream mass adoption of their ideas, all they need to do is make really compelling mainstream music with it. That's it. It's just that simple. Make good music and the people will come. That kind of a thing. But it's really hard to even consider that question when the barrier to entry to make that music is $4,000. That's why I like Micr Frets, or as the lute players call them, tastinos. That's right, tastino. Not totino, not tostinos, tastino. I like them because they're cheap, just like me, which is why I'm not gonna recommend any specific brand, because none would sponsor me. But I'm still gonna advocate for them anyway, because I think they help solve our problem. They break the barrier. Let me show you how. When most people think of microtonal harmony, they usually think dissonance, so something like this.
What is it about simple things done when struggling begins?
But one of the simplest things you can do with all of the notes in between the notes of our Western 12-tet system is to make our chords more pure, more consonant. As you might already know, our 12-tet major chords are slightly out of tune when you compare them to just intonation. So our fifths are slightly flat and our major thirds are, quite frankly, pretty sharp. We can add these little Micr Frets to help compensate for that, turning this D major chord a little bit more pure. Take a listen. Micr Frets are low risk. We attach them with single or double-sided tape and they can be moved easily. Sometimes a little too easily, if I'm being completely honest, but they don't cause damage to your fretboard and you don't have to hire a luthier to permanently alter your guitar just to try them out. Micr Frets have been used by Turkish and Arabic guitarists for years, incorporating quarter tones and commas to the instrument, expanding its vocabulary to accommodate traditional styles of maqam playing. Today, I'd like to see if I can borrow some of that maqam vocabulary with Micr Frets and, I don't know, try out something I've never tried before. This circle represents all of our familiar 12 chromatic notes we can access on our normal basses and guitars. It also just dawned on me that I think this is the first time ever on this channel that I've actually animated a diagram that was in 12. May the microtonal gods have mercy on my soul. Anyway, these notes are static. They're not going anywhere. I can't change them because, well, that's where my frets are. This is kind of a shame because in practice, macam intervals will make micro adjustments within themselves, either flattening or sharpening depending on the tonal gravity, melodic trajectory, regional variance, and the aesthetic of the macam at hand. We obviously can't do this, but hopefully we can get close enough to capture something of the spirit of a macam-like sound. So let's add some quarter tones. Macams can be understood by stacking different melodic fragments called jints, or ajnas in the plural. If we take a look at macam bayati, we can see that it's made up of a couple of these different fragments. Some of them are tetrachords like jints bayati, and some are pentachords like jints nahawand. Bayati is popular in both classical and folk melody all across Egypt, Syria, Turkey, Iran, and beyond. It's also commonly found in liturgical chant, like in the recitation of the Quran. This macam features 1, sometimes 2 quarter tones, so it's a good place to dip our toes into the micro-fretted waters. Bayati is a 4-note fragment. Starting on D, we can sing D, E half flat, F, G. At this 4th note, it can connect to jints nahawand, so that's G, A, B flat, C, D. We can alternatively use this B half flat to evoke the sound of jints rast as well. Now, I should probably throw out this disclaimer here. I am not versed, at all, in the traditions of Arabic or Turkish music. I just think microtones are pretty cool and fun to mess around with. That said, one should recognize that this is a very old and very deep musical tradition. Maqamat are more than just Middle Eastern scales. They are kind of like instructional guides for melodic progression. Guides which will contextually emphasize certain notes over others, guides that utilize habitual phrases, guides that have their own rule set of how and when to modulate to different ajnas, guides that are steeped in tradition, history, and nuance, which quite frankly, I'm just not even qualified to get into. But I would like to learn, and this seemed like as good of a fun first step as any. So I gave myself about an hour, and I wrote something that is vaguely, and I mean vaguely, in Maqam Bayati. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you try out this micro fret thing for yourself. Huge thank you to my patrons for making this video and all future videos possible. I just uploaded a companion video and bass lesson for what you just heard over exclusively on Patreon, and I hope you'll check it out. When you sign up under the Microtonalist tier, you'll get a bunch of extra content about microtonal theory, how to do practical microtones, and then my lecture series on microtonality for the modern musician, as well as extended cuts and early viewing of my upcoming videos, more bass lessons, and access to the Microtonalist manual, a comprehensive resource containing all you'll you'll ever need to know about how to make music in 31-tone equal temperament. Come study with me. I make it a priority to make myself available to all of my patrons to answer questions, just nerd out about cool music stuff, and foster a thriving community of microtonalists. We await you with open arms and, of course, a whole lot of notes.